The Mind Gym, the Stoic workout plan for a stronger self. Welcome back, Stoic warriors. Here at Stoic in Your Life, we've been training our minds, building resilience, self-discipline, and emotional strength. But just like physical fitness, mental strength isn't something you achieve overnight. It takes regular exercise, intentional effort, and the right mindset. Today, we're diving into a unique workout, the Mind Gym, the Stoic workout plan for a stronger self. Just like your body needs a physical workout to stay strong, your mind needs mental exercises to become resilient and focused. The Stoics weren't just passive observers of life. They actively trained their minds to remain unshaken by life's challenges. In this episode, we'll explore 5 powerful Stoic exercises designed to strengthen your mental and emotional resilience. We'll dive into how to cultivate focus, embrace discomfort, and practice mindful awareness to help you develop a stronger sense of self and purpose. Ready to start your mental workout? Let's flex those mental muscles and prepare to transform yourself from the inside out. If you find this episode inspiring, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Let's continue spreading Stoic wisdom and empowering each other to live with strength and purpose. Lesson 1. Strategic Pivot, Stoic Backup Plan. Let's dive into the first lesson of the Mind Gym, the Stoic workout plan for a stronger self, by addressing one of the most powerful strategies in the Stoic arsenal, the strategic pivot, or as we often call it, the Stoic backup plan. Life has a funny way of throwing us off course no matter how meticulously we plan. You might map out a career path, focus on building relationships, or have a financial plan for the next 10 years, but inevitably, something unexpected comes along to disrupt your path. How do you respond when things don't go your way? The Stoics knew that flexibility and adaptability are key to navigating life's unpredictable twists. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom lies at the heart of the Stoic backup plan. The idea that while you can't control external events, you always have the power to control your response. A strategic pivot isn't about giving up when things get tough, nor is it about passively accepting failure. It's about embracing the reality that plans often change and being ready to adapt with resilience and clarity. Let's be honest. How many times have you found yourself frustrated because things didn't turn out as you expected? Whether it's a career setback, a personal relationship faltering, or even a fitness goal that seems to slip further away despite your best efforts, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But the Stoic perspective teaches us to look at these obstacles not as failures, but as opportunities to reevaluate, adjust, and take a different path. Epictetus reminds us that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That is the essence of the pivot, the ability to stay calm and resourceful when the road gets bumpy. Instead of letting obstacles derail you, think of them as challenges that strengthen your mental muscles. Let's bring this concept into a modern context. Consider the story of a man who worked for years to climb the corporate ladder, pouring everything into his career. Suddenly, his company restructures, and his position is eliminated. At that moment, he faces 2 choices: spiral into frustration and despair, or take a step back, reassess, and pivot his strategy. Perhaps instead of focusing solely on climbing the corporate ladder, he decides to use his expertise to start his own consulting business or pursue a passion that has always been on the back burner. This shift doesn't mean he has failed. Rather, it shows his resilience and ability to adapt. The Stoics understood that life is dynamic, and the path to success is rarely straight. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Embracing this mindset allows you to turn setbacks into growth opportunities, just as a difficult workout builds physical endurance. When you face challenges, ask yourself, what's my pivot? This question opens the door to alternative solutions, helping you see that there is never only one way to achieve your goals. The key is to stay open to new opportunities, even when they look different from what you originally envisioned. The pivot is an essential part of personal growth. If you're rigid in your plans and expectations, any disruption will feel like a catastrophe. But if you prepare yourself mentally to pivot when necessary, you'll find that you can navigate life's challenges with much more ease and clarity. A Stoic workout doesn't just involve building resilience against failure. It's about understanding that each setback is a chance to recalibrate and grow stronger. Here's the important takeaway. Flexibility is not weakness, it is strength. The more adaptable you are, the more capable you become at handling whatever life throws at you. Think of a tree bending in the wind. The tree that refuses to bend will break, while the one that sways with the wind survives and grows taller. Life's storms are inevitable, but your response to them defines your resilience. By cultivating the habit of creating a Stoic backup plan, you are mentally preparing yourself for the unexpected. Instead of being caught off guard by disruptions, you'll be ready to pivot smoothly and confidently, knowing that every change in direction is an opportunity for growth. So how do you create a Stoic backup plan? It starts with accepting that you cannot control everything. The Stoic principle of focusing on what is within your control and letting go of what isn't is foundational here. By regularly reviewing your goals and preparing for different scenarios, you train your mind to be flexible and adaptive. If you're working towards a business goal, ask yourself, what's my plan B if the market shifts? If you're in a relationship, think about how you'll respond if unexpected challenges arise. The Stoics teach us that by anticipating potential obstacles and mentally preparing for them, we reduce the emotional shock and stress when they inevitably occur. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the Stoics' approach to adversity. What seems like a roadblock is actually a detour guiding you toward a better, stronger path. In the gym of life, the strategic pivot is your mental strength training. It's about building the ability to adapt quickly, stay calm under pressure, and see opportunity in every obstacle. It's a skill you can develop with practice, just like any physical exercise. Start by reflecting on past challenges you've faced. How could you have handled them differently if you had approached them with a Stoic mindset? How can you prepare yourself now for future obstacles? Developing a Stoic backup plan is like strengthening your mental core, giving you the resilience to bend without breaking, to pivot when necessary, and to keep moving forward no matter what. The strategic pivot is not about avoiding difficulty. It's about embracing the challenge, knowing that you have the tools to adapt and thrive. Life will continue to throw unexpected twists and turns your way, but with the Stoic approach to flexibility, you'll be able to handle each one with clarity and confidence. Remember, it's not the obstacle itself that matters. It's how you respond to it that determines your success. Lesson 2. Balcony View, Shifting Perspective. Balcony view, shifting perspective is one of the most valuable mental exercises in the Stoic toolkit, and how it can dramatically reshape the way we navigate life's challenges. The balcony view, as the name suggests, is about stepping back from the situation you're currently immersed in and gaining a wider perspective. It's much like standing on a balcony and observing everything happening below. From up there, the details that once seemed so overwhelming become smaller, and you start to see how everything connects in the grander scheme of things. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This powerful idea reminds us that when we feel stuck or overwhelmed by circumstances, it's often because we're too close to the problem, unable to see beyond the immediate. By practicing the art of shifting perspective, we can detach ourselves emotionally, view the situation objectively, and make wiser, more measured decisions. Think about a time when you were caught up in the stress of a deadline, a heated argument, or an unexpected setback. In those moments, it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, doesn't it? Everything seems urgent, overwhelming, and sometimes even hopeless. Now ask yourself, if you had taken a step back, would the situation have seemed as dire? Often, the answer is no. This is what the Stoics teach us. Most problems lose their intensity when we zoom out. When you shift your perspective, you start seeing options you didn't notice before. You begin to understand that most things are temporary, and what seems like a huge issue today might not even matter a few months from now. So why let it consume you in the moment? Let me share a story that perfectly captures this concept in modern life. A good friend of mine was working on a major project at his company. Everything was riding on this: his reputation, a potential promotion, and the success of the team. But a few days before the deadline, unforeseen complications started piling up, and he felt like the project was slipping through his fingers. The stress was overwhelming. He couldn't sleep, couldn't think clearly, and every small issue felt like a disaster. That's when he called me, and after listening to him vent for a while, I simply asked, "What if you take a step back? What if you look at this from a bigger perspective? Will this project define your career? Will this deadline determine your future happiness?" He paused. In that moment, he realized he had been so deep in the weeds that he lost sight of the bigger picture. He was letting the stress of the moment control him. After that, he mentally stepped back, approached the situation calmly, and found solutions he hadn't seen before. The project got finished, not perfectly, but successfully. And most importantly, his career didn't hinge on that one moment. That's the power of shifting perspective. So, how can you apply this in your own life? Start by asking yourself a simple question the next time you're faced with a problem. What will this situation look like from the balcony? Will it still matter in a week, a month, or a year? By forcing yourself to zoom out, you start to see the problem from a different angle, and you realize that it's not as overwhelming as it initially appeared. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond thoughtfully. Think about it. How often do we get caught up in the small details of life, allowing them to dictate our mood, stress levels, and overall well-being? The Stoics believed that by changing our perspective, we can regain control of our emotions and make better decisions. Marcus Aurelius also said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This means that the way we think about our problems shapes our experience of them. If you constantly focus on what's wrong, you'll feel overwhelmed. But if you train your mind to take a broader view, you'll approach life with more peace and clarity. This lesson isn't just about avoiding stress. It's about gaining the clarity to see the world as it is, not as your emotions painted in the heat of the moment. When you cultivate the ability to shift perspective, you begin to realize that most obstacles are temporary and many problems are not as significant as they seem. Let's take it even further. Picture yourself at work. You've got a challenging boss, tight deadlines, and mounting pressure. It's easy to let these things define your day, to carry the frustration home with you and let it affect your mood, relationships, and even your health. But what if, instead, you viewed your work situation from a balcony? From that perspective, you might see that your current project is just one of many in your career, and your boss's criticism, while annoying, is something you can handle without letting it affect your self-worth. The bigger picture shows that you're capable of overcoming challenges, and the immediate stress doesn't define your long-term success. This mental shift not only reduces stress, but empowers you to focus on solutions rather than getting trapped in emotional reactions. Open-ended questions can be a powerful tool here too. Ask yourself, what is the real significance of this issue in the context of my entire life? By doing this, you create space for new ideas and solutions to emerge. You stop obsessing over what's going wrong and start thinking about what you can learn from the experience. And more importantly, you start seeing opportunities to grow. The beauty of the Stoic philosophy lies in its simplicity. You don't need fancy tools or complex strategies to shift your perspective, just the willingness to step back, take a deep breath, and view things from a broader vantage point. As you practice this mental exercise, you'll find that problems which once seemed insurmountable become more manageable, and over time, you'll cultivate a sense of inner calm that helps you navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience. The balcony view teaches us that perspective is everything. When you feel trapped by stress, overwhelmed by challenges, or weighed down by setbacks, remember that you have the power to step back and see the bigger picture. It's not the events themselves that dictate your experience, but how you choose to view them. By shifting your perspective, you take control of your mind, and when you control your mind, you control your life. So the next time you face a problem, don't stay stuck in the middle of it. Step up to the balcony, look at it from a distance, and ask yourself, how can I approach this with wisdom and clarity? That's the mindset that will make you stronger, more resilient, and ultimately more successful in the gym of life. Lesson 3. Going with the flow. Embracing change. Let's talk about going with the flow. A crucial concept when it comes to mastering the Stoic workout for a stronger self. Life doesn't unfold according to our plans, no matter how carefully we craft them. Events will happen, disruptions will arise, and the path you thought you were on can take a sharp turn when you least expect it. The Stoics understood this, and rather than fight against the current of life, they believed in embracing change, adapting to the flow and maintaining inner peace in the face of adversity. As Epictetus once said, "Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well." This is the essence of going with the flow, learning to release your grip on things beyond your control and trusting that you can handle whatever life throws your way. Think about the last time something unexpected happened in your life. Maybe a project at work was canceled, a relationship ended, or your financial situation shifted unexpectedly. How did you react? Did you resist, or did you adapt? The way we respond to life's changes often defines our emotional and mental well-being. By learning to go with the flow, you aren't giving up control. You're redirecting your focus to what you can control, which is your reaction. Change is one of the few certainties in life, yet it's often met with resistance. We're creatures of habit, and many of us cling to what's familiar, even when it no longer serves us. But what would happen if you could shift your mindset to see change as an opportunity rather than a threat? The Stoics viewed every obstacle, every unexpected event, as a chance to build resilience, to learn, and to grow. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is a powerful reminder that change, even when it feels like a setback, can be the very thing that propels you forward. The question is, how do you respond to it? Do you let it overwhelm you, or do you embrace it as part of the natural flow of life? To better illustrate this, let's consider a modern-day story that many of us can relate to. Imagine you've been working toward a specific career goal for years. You've invested time, energy, and perhaps even sacrificed personal time to climb the corporate ladder. Then suddenly, the company restructures, and the position you've been working toward no longer exists. In moments like this, it's easy to feel defeated or frustrated, but this is where the Stoic principle of going with the flow comes into play. Instead of dwelling on the loss of that particular opportunity, you can shift your perspective and ask yourself, what new opportunities does this change open up for me? Maybe it's the chance to pivot into a new field, to start your own business, or to focus on a passion you've neglected. By embracing change, you take back your power and open yourself up to possibilities that you hadn't considered before. The key is to maintain your flexibility and recognize that life is constantly shifting. What feels like a loss today could lead to something far better tomorrow. Ask yourself this: when was the last time I resisted change, and how did that resistance impact my mindset? More often than not, it's our resistance to change, not the change itself, that causes stress and unhappiness. When you flow with life's currents, rather than fighting against them, you become more adaptable, more resilient, and less attached to outcomes. And when you release that attachment, You create space for new opportunities to arise. Take a moment to think about an area in your life where you've been holding on too tightly. Maybe it's a relationship that's no longer working, a job that no longer excites you, or a belief that no longer serves you. What would happen if you allowed yourself to let go and embrace the change that's already unfolding? How might that transform your experience? Epictetus also reminds us that the core of Stoic philosophy is about understanding what's within your control and what isn't. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This fundamental Stoic teaching is at the heart of going with the flow. Life will happen. Circumstances will change. People will come and go. But how you react is entirely up to you. When you face change with a sense of openness and curiosity instead of fear, you maintain your peace of mind. You stop fighting against reality, and you begin to engage with it. This doesn't mean passivity or complacency. On the contrary, it means taking active control of your mindset, your emotions, and your choices. Going with the flow doesn't mean being passive or letting life push you around. It means having the flexibility to adapt when needed, and the wisdom to know when to hold your ground. Now let's talk about how this applies to modern life. We live in a world where rapid change is the norm. Technology is constantly evolving, industries are shifting, and the job market is more competitive than ever. If you cling too tightly to old ways of thinking, old habits, or outdated methods, you risk being left behind. But if you're willing to adapt, to learn new skills, and to shift your approach when necessary, you not only survive, you thrive. Think about the entrepreneurs who succeeded during difficult times. Did they resist the changing market, or did they find ways to innovate and adapt? Going with the flow in a fast-paced world means being open to learning, willing to pivot, and ready to embrace whatever comes next. In the gym of life, going with the flow is like building mental and emotional flexibility. Just like your body needs flexibility to avoid injury and perform well, your mind needs flexibility to handle life's unexpected changes. The more you practice this Stoic principle, the stronger and more adaptable you become. You start to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. You stop fearing change and start welcoming it as part of your personal evolution. So ask yourself, how can I cultivate more flexibility in my thinking? How can I let go of what's no longer serving me and embrace the changes that are happening around me? Going with the flow doesn't mean surrendering control over your life. It means mastering the art of adaptability. When you embrace change as a natural part of life, you free yourself from the stress and frustration that comes with trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, you gain inner peace, clarity, and the ability to navigate life's twists and turns with confidence. The next time you face an unexpected challenge or disruption, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Take a deep breath, step back, and ask yourself, how can I flow with this change instead of resisting it? That's the mindset that leads to true strength, resilience, and growth in the journey of life. Lesson 4. Stoic Grit: Facing Challenges Head-On. Let's talk about Stoic Grit, the ability to face challenges head-on, a core part of building a stronger self in the mind gym. In life, challenges are inevitable, from the pressures of work and family to personal setbacks and unexpected obstacles. It's not a matter of if we'll encounter adversity, but when. The real question is, how will we respond? Stoicism teaches us that the mark of a strong person is not someone who avoids difficulty, but someone who embraces it, recognizing that through struggle, we grow. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it best when he said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This quote embodies the essence of Stoic grit, understanding that every challenge is not an obstruction but a stepping stone, an opportunity to become stronger, more resilient, and wiser. When you face a challenge, the Stoic mindset encourages you not to shy away but to lean into it, to see it as the very thing that will forge a better version of yourself. Let's break this down in a way that resonates with modern life. Think about a time when you were hit with an unexpected setback. Maybe it was a financial problem, a health scare, or an issue in a relationship. At that moment, it likely felt overwhelming, as though you were backed into a corner. But what if, instead of seeing it as something negative, you viewed it as a test of your strength, determination, and mental toughness? The Stoics believed that life's difficulties are like weights in a gym. Each obstacle, no matter how heavy, is an opportunity to strengthen your mental muscles. By developing Stoic grit, you learn to endure, persist, and grow from hardship. Epictetus, another renowned Stoic philosopher, reminds us, difficulties show a person's character. Therefore, when trouble arises, think not that you have been done wrong, but that you have been given the opportunity to demonstrate your strength. So, the next time life throws a curveball, ask yourself, what is this moment teaching me? How can I rise to meet this challenge? These questions shift your perspective and help you see obstacles not as barriers, but as invitations to grow. Let's consider a practical example in today's world. Picture a man in his early 50s who has worked hard in his career for over 25 years. He's built a stable life for his family, only to find out that his company is downsizing and his position is being eliminated. This kind of scenario is more common than we'd like to admit, and for many, it can feel like a life-altering blow. The Stoic approach, however, teaches us to confront this challenge head-on, not to see it as the end, but as the beginning of a new chapter. Instead of focusing on what's been lost, Stoic grit encourages him to ask, how can I use this challenge to grow? What new paths are open to me now? In moments like this, it's essential to remember that adversity is not something to be feared, but something to be faced. It may not be easy, but with the right mindset, every setback becomes an opportunity for growth. Stoicism, in many ways, is the art of enduring. It's about developing resilience in a world that's constantly changing, often in ways we can't control. Think about the last time you faced something difficult, whether it was at work, in a relationship, or a personal struggle. Did you let it overwhelm you, or did you find a way through it? One of the most important aspects of Stoic grit is realizing that you have the power to control how you respond to adversity. You can't always control what happens, but you can control how you think about it and what you do next. This brings us to a vital part of the Stoic mindset, understanding the dichotomy of control. As Epictetus famously said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you grasp this idea, you stop wasting energy on things outside of your control, like the economy, other people's decisions, or unexpected circumstances, and instead focus on what you can control: your actions, your attitude, and your effort. In modern life, it's easy to feel powerless when things don't go according to plan. We've all experienced moments where we felt like victims of our circumstances, but Stoicism offers a different path. It teaches us that while we may not have control over every event, we always have control over our mindset and how we approach the challenges we face. For example, if you're dealing with a difficult boss or a tough project at work, you can choose to see it as a burden, or you can choose to see it as a way to build your perseverance and problem-solving skills. When you adopt the latter mindset, you not only get through the challenge, but you also emerge stronger and more capable. Ask yourself, what am I learning from this experience? How is this challenge helping me become better? These are the questions that transform your mindset and build your Stoic grit. It's important to understand that Stoic grit isn't about being emotionless or suppressing how you feel. It's about acknowledging your emotions, whether it's fear, frustration, or sadness, and then choosing to act in spite of them. Courage, after all, isn't the absence of fear. It's the ability to keep moving forward even when fear is present. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This means that simply facing each day with determination, especially when life is difficult, is a sign of immense strength. It's about refusing to give up even when things seem bleak, and trusting that, with each challenge you face, you are growing stronger. Think about the challenges you're currently facing. Maybe it's a difficult situation at work, a health issue, or a personal struggle that's testing your limits. How can you apply the principles of Stoicism to face these challenges head-on? Instead of viewing them as burdens, see them as opportunities to demonstrate your resilience and strength. Remember that adversity is a part of life, but it's also the key to growth. When you approach challenges with a Stoic mindset, you begin to see that every obstacle is an opportunity for self-improvement. Ask yourself, how can I use this moment to build my strength? By doing this, you cultivate the grit necessary to not only survive, but thrive in the face of adversity. Stoic Grit is about embracing life's challenges with resilience, strength, and a mindset focused on growth. The next time you face a difficult situation, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Use the obstacles in your path as opportunities to improve yourself. By facing challenges head-on, you are not only building a stronger mind and spirit, but you are also setting yourself on a path to live a more fulfilling and empowered life. Let every setback become a stepping stone, and with each challenge, strengthen your resolve to keep pushing forward. That's the true essence of Stoic Grit. Thank you for joining us in today's video. Before we move on to the next part, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you as part of our community. If you'd like, feel free to share your story or any thoughts in the comments below. If you're unsure what to say, simply leave a comment saying, "I am a newbie," if you're new, or "I am Stoic," if you've been with us for a while. Your engagement means a lot to us and truly keeps us motivated to keep going. Now let's continue this journey of growth and learning together. Lesson 5. Emotional Control. Steering Your Reactions. One of the fundamental ideas in Stoicism is that we may not always be able to control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it. In other words, while we can't stop the waves of life from coming, we can learn how to steer the ship through those waves without letting them capsize us. Epictetus, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This quote sums up the heart of emotional control. It's about recognizing that emotions will arise in response to events, but instead of letting them control us, we have the power to decide how we act in the face of them. Think about a recent situation that triggered a strong emotional reaction in you. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic, or a colleague at work criticized you unexpectedly. In those moments, it's easy to let frustration, anger, or even anxiety take over. Before you know it, you're reacting emotionally, perhaps snapping at someone or letting that frustration linger for hours, affecting your mood and performance. But what if, instead of immediately reacting, you paused? What if you took a step back, observed your emotions without judgment, and chose how to respond thoughtfully? This is what the Stoics practiced every day, the art of emotional control. They understood that while emotions are natural, we don't have to be ruled by them. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength is the ability to steer your reactions, to act with intention rather than impulsively. In our fast-paced, modern world, emotional control is more crucial than ever. We're constantly bombarded by stressful situations, emails that need immediate responses, social media notifications that trigger envy or frustration, personal and professional relationships that can challenge our patience. Without emotional control, these daily stresses can pile up, leading to feelings of overwhelm, burnout, and even resentment. But the truth is, we have more control over our emotional responses than we often give ourselves credit for. Let me share a story to illustrate this. A friend of mine who runs his own business was dealing with a particularly difficult client. This client was constantly changing their mind, criticizing the work, and sending angry emails at all hours of the day. My friend's initial response was frustration, which quickly turned into anger. He found himself obsessing over the situation, constantly checking his inbox for the next negative message and letting it ruin his mood. But then he remembered a Stoic lesson he had once learned. Control your response, not the situation. So he decided to take a step back. Instead of reacting emotionally, he started responding calmly and professionally, addressing the client's concerns without letting their negativity affect his inner peace. Over time, the client's behavior didn't change much, but my friend's emotional control gave him the clarity to handle the situation without losing his temper, and without letting it consume his energy. So how can you apply this lesson in your own life? It starts with awareness. Next time you feel an emotional reaction rising, whether it's anger, frustration, or even fear, pause. Ask yourself, is this emotion serving me? This simple question can create the space you need to regain control. When you recognize that your emotions are just temporary reactions, you begin to see that you have the power to steer them. You don't have to suppress your emotions, but you also don't have to be controlled by them. Epictetus reminds us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastering yourself begins with mastering your reactions. Another important aspect of emotional control is realizing that no one else can make you feel a certain way. It's easy to blame others for our emotional state. He made me so angry, or she ruined my day with that comment. But the Stoic approach teaches us that no one has the power to control our emotions unless we give them that power. You are the only one responsible for how you feel. For example, if someone insults you, you have a choice. You can either let it affect your mood and self-worth, or you can choose to see it as a reflection of that person's character, not yours. Ask yourself, how much power am I giving away to others by letting their words or actions control my emotions? By reclaiming that power, you take control of your emotional responses and ultimately, your peace of mind. In today's world, emotional control is not just a personal skill, it's a professional one. The ability to stay calm and collected under pressure is highly valued in any workplace. Leaders in particular need emotional control to guide their teams through tough situations without letting panic or frustration spread. When you can steer your reactions effectively, you become someone that others trust and look to in times of crisis. Consider this. When was the last time you admired someone for staying calm in a stressful situation? That level of composure isn't something people are born with. It's something they've cultivated through practice, and it's something you can cultivate too. One of the best ways to practice emotional control is through mindfulness. By training yourself to observe your thoughts and emotions without immediately reacting, you build the mental muscle needed to pause and choose your response. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings, it means acknowledging them and then deciding how to proceed in a way that aligns with your values and long-term goals. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, wrote, "He who is brave is free." In this context, bravery is the courage to face your emotions head-on, without letting them dictate your actions. So, what's the takeaway here? Emotional control is like the steering wheel of your life. Without it, you're at the mercy of whatever emotions arise, drifting from one reaction to the next, often ending up in places you don't want to be. But with emotional control, you can navigate even the most challenging situations with grace, purpose, and clarity. The next time you feel an intense emotion, instead of reacting on autopilot, take a breath and steer. Ask yourself, what's the best way to respond to this situation? That simple act of pausing and choosing your reaction can make all the difference, not only in how the situation plays out, but in how you feel about yourself. Lesson 6. Effortless Action, Working Smarter. Let's dive into Lesson 6. Effortless Action, Working Smarter, an essential part of building a stronger mindset in the mind gym. When we think about getting things done, many of us have a natural tendency to equate hard work with success. We believe that the more hours we put in, the more we push ourselves to the limit, the better the outcome will be. But here's the truth. Working harder doesn't always mean working better. Sometimes the key to success is not grinding endlessly, but learning how to work smarter, with more efficiency, precision, and calm. As the famous Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This idea teaches us that success and personal growth don't always require a grueling process. Instead, by focusing on what truly matters and eliminating distractions, we can achieve more with less effort. Stoicism is all about clarity and purpose, which is why it encourages us to simplify our approach to challenges and take the path of least resistance where possible. Now, what does working smarter really look like in practice? It begins by clearly identifying what's most important and removing the unnecessary steps or distractions that drain your energy. Think about a situation where you were buried in tasks, whether it was a demanding project at work, taking care of family responsibilities, or trying to achieve a personal goal. Were there moments when you realized you were spinning your wheels, putting in hours but making little real progress? This happens to all of us. We fall into the trap of busyness, mistaking it for productivity. But the Stoic approach is different. It's about narrowing your focus on what will have the most impact and letting go of the rest. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic thinker, wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This means cutting out the unnecessary distractions, both in what we do and what we say. To work smarter, you have to get clear about what truly needs to be done and prioritize those actions with laser focus. Let's relate this to modern life. In today's world, we are bombarded with tasks, notifications, and distractions, from our phones, emails, and social media, to the endless to-do lists we create for ourselves. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, as if the only solution is to work harder and longer. But what if you stepped back and took a Stoic approach? Ask yourself, what's truly important here? What's the one task that will move me forward the most? By focusing on high-impact actions and filtering out the rest, you're working smarter. In practical terms, this might mean spending the first hour of your day tackling the most challenging or important task, rather than reacting to emails or social media. It might mean saying no to commitments that don't align with your priorities, freeing up time for things that truly matter. There's a great story I like to share that highlights this concept of effortless action. A man I know has been struggling to balance his work and personal life. He was constantly working late, trying to juggle multiple projects and feeling like there weren't enough hours in the day. He was exhausted, but felt trapped in this cycle of overwork. One day, a mentor asked him, "Are you working hard, or are you working effectively?" That simple question forced him to reflect. He realized that many of the tasks consuming his time weren't truly necessary, or they could be delegated. He started prioritizing the most important projects and cut out the busy work that wasn't contributing to his goals. Almost immediately, he felt a sense of relief and saw better results in his work. He wasn't working more hours, he was just working smarter. This is the power of effortless action. When you focus on what truly matters and cut out the noise, everything becomes more streamlined, and you can achieve more with less effort. Effortless action is also about maintaining a sense of calm and composure while you work. Have you ever noticed that when you're frantic or stressed, your productivity actually drops? This is where the Stoic principle of keeping a calm mind comes into play. By staying composed and focused, you're able to handle tasks more effectively, even under pressure. The Stoics believed that we should approach our work with a sense of tranquility, doing what needs to be done without becoming overwhelmed by the process. Epictetus reminds us, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." This teaches us to focus on the actions within our control and not waste energy worrying about external factors or trying to do everything at once. One way to cultivate effortless action in your life is to practice mindfulness and be fully present with whatever task is at hand. Often, we try to multitask, thinking that we'll be more productive if we handle multiple things at once. But research shows that multitasking actually reduces our efficiency and increases stress. By focusing on one task at a time and giving it your full attention, you can complete it faster and with better results. So, ask yourself, am I truly focused on this task, or am I dividing my attention? When you focus deeply, you enter a state of flow, where work feels almost effortless, and time seems to pass quickly. This is the ideal state for working smarter, not harder. Another important aspect of working smarter is taking care of your mental and physical energy. Too often, we push ourselves to the point of burnout, thinking that more effort will lead to more success. But in reality, neglecting rest and recovery only leads to diminishing returns. Just like an athlete needs to rest between workouts to perform at their best, your mind needs downtime to recharge. Stoicism teaches us the importance of balance and self-care. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This is a reminder that we should cherish our time and not waste it on meaningless work or excessive striving. By ensuring you get enough rest, engage in activities that rejuvenate you, and create a healthy work-life balance, you set yourself up for long-term success. Lesson 7. Escape Route. Finding Flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how meticulously we plan or how hard we work, unexpected challenges will always arise. This is where flexibility becomes a key asset in our mental fitness. The Stoics believed that true strength lies not in rigidly holding on to our expectations, but in our ability to adapt when circumstances change. As Epictetus famously said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." This idea can be applied not just to people but to situations as well. When life throws us a curveball, we must shift our mindset and learn how to navigate through the challenge without being crushed by it. Finding flexibility means developing the mental resilience to pivot when things don't go as planned, and using adversity as an opportunity for growth, rather than seeing it as a setback. In modern life, flexibility is often misunderstood as giving up control or becoming passive. But in the Stoic sense, flexibility is about being adaptable and strategic. It's the art of remaining calm in the face of unforeseen events, of learning how to bend so that you don't break. Let's consider a scenario that many of us can relate to. You've been working on a long-term project, putting in the time, effort, and dedication to ensure everything goes according to plan. But at the last minute, something changes. Whether it's a decision from a higher-up, a shift in market conditions, or a personal issue that derails your progress. At that moment, you have a choice. You can either resist the change and let frustration take over, or you can accept the reality of the situation and find a new way forward. Flexibility, in this context, doesn't mean giving up on your goals. It means finding a different route to achieve them. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This timeless quote reminds us that while we can't control external events, we can always control our reaction to them. By focusing on what we can influence and letting go of what we cannot, we become more flexible and ultimately more powerful in the face of challenges. A perfect example of this principle in action can be found in the world of professional sports. Athletes train rigorously, often with a singular focus on achieving a specific goal. But when an injury occurs, their entire trajectory can be thrown off course. A rigid mindset might lead an athlete to despair or even give up on their dreams. However, those who embrace flexibility, both physically and mentally, find new ways to train, new ways to compete, and new opportunities for growth. This mindset doesn't just apply to athletes, it's something we can all cultivate in our everyday lives. Whether you're facing a sudden job loss, a relationship that's taking a different direction, or unexpected health issues, the Stoic approach teaches us to remain open to alternative paths and solutions. Ask yourself, when have I faced an unexpected challenge, and how did I respond? Was I able to adapt, or did I resist the change? Flexibility also allows us to release the pressure of perfectionism. In our fast-paced, goal-driven society, there's often a push to get everything exactly right, to execute flawlessly, and to achieve success without any setbacks. But the reality is that life is full of variables and things rarely unfold exactly as we expect. By embracing flexibility, we give ourselves permission to be imperfect, to make adjustments along the way, and to learn from our experiences. This doesn't mean lowering our standards or abandoning our ambitions. It means being kind to ourselves and recognizing that adaptability is a strength, not a weakness. Stoicism encourages us to focus on the process rather than being fixated on the outcome. When you're flexible, you become more present in the moment, more engaged with the task at hand, and more resilient when obstacles arise. Let me share a modern story to illustrate this. A friend of mine, who is an entrepreneur, started a business with a clear vision and strategy. For the first few years, everything went according to plan. But then, the market shifted, and the demand for her product declined. Many in her position would have panicked or stubbornly clung to the original plan, hoping things would change. But she took a different approach. She embraced flexibility. She pivoted her business model, adapted her product to meet the new market demand, and ultimately thrived in a way she hadn't initially expected. Her success wasn't the result of luck. It was the result of her ability to adjust her course when circumstances changed. That's the power of finding flexibility. This lesson of flexibility extends beyond professional life. It applies to personal development, relationships, and even physical health. When we're too rigid in our expectations, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we learn to let go of the need for everything to be perfect, we create space for growth and discovery. Think about your own life for a moment. Are there areas where you've been holding on too tightly to a specific outcome or expectation? What might happen if you allowed yourself to be more flexible, to explore alternative solutions, and to accept that things don't always go according to plan? By asking these questions, you can start to see where you might benefit from loosening your grip and finding new ways to approach challenges. In addition to flexibility, the Stoics also emphasize the importance of patience and persistence. Flexibility doesn't mean abandoning your goals at the first sign of difficulty. Instead, it's about being persistent in your efforts while remaining open to the possibility that your path may need to shift. Seneca reminds us, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. This means that challenges aren't roadblocks, they're opportunities for growth. When you're flexible, you see obstacles not as reasons to quit, but as chances to develop new skills, build resilience, and find innovative solutions. So how can you incorporate this lesson of flexibility into your daily life? Start by practicing mindfulness and being present in each moment. When challenges arise, pause and ask yourself, what is within my control and what can I adapt to? Instead of reacting with frustration or resistance, look for ways to adjust your approach. Remember that flexibility doesn't mean giving up. It means finding a new route to your destination. In the gym of life, flexibility is one of the most valuable mental exercises you can practice. It builds resilience, strengthens your ability to face uncertainty, and empowers you to turn challenges into opportunities. Finding flexibility is about embracing change with grace, adjusting your mindset when necessary, and being open to alternative paths without losing sight of your goals. Life will always throw unexpected twists and turns your way, but with a flexible mind you can navigate through them with strength and confidence. The next time you encounter a challenge, ask yourself, how can I adapt to this situation? What new opportunities are available to me? By practicing flexibility, you'll not only overcome obstacles, you'll find new ways to thrive. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. So let's make flexibility our greatest strength as we continue to grow in the mind gym. If you've made it this far, you're building your mental strength like a true Stoic. Drop a comment saying, I am stronger, to show you're committed to mastering the Stoic workout plan. Stay with us. There's more to come on your journey to becoming your best self. Lesson 8. Strength in asking, embracing help. Let's explore. Lesson 8. Strength in Asking, Embracing Help. One of the most crucial, yet often overlooked principles in building a stronger self. We live in a world that constantly pushes the idea of independence and self-sufficiency. We're told that success comes from doing everything on our own, that asking for help is a sign of weakness. But in reality, Stoicism teaches us the opposite. The Stoics believed that embracing help is not only a sign of wisdom, but also a critical component of strength. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, said, "Don't be ashamed of needing help. You have a duty to fulfill just like a soldier on the wall of battle." This means that just like a soldier who relies on his comrades, we too must learn to lean on others when necessary. Asking for help is not about admitting defeat or showing vulnerability. It's about recognizing that we all need support from time to time and that true strength comes from knowing when to ask. Let's think about this in the context of modern life. Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed by a work project, a personal challenge, or a health issue, but refused to ask for help because you didn't want to appear incapable? Maybe you convinced yourself that you needed to handle it on your own, that asking for help would make others see you as weak or unworthy. But how often does that mindset lead to burnout, stress, or poor results? When we refuse to ask for help, we not only limit our potential, but we also miss out on opportunities to grow and learn from others. The Stoic approach reminds us that we are interconnected, and no one succeeds entirely on their own. By asking for help, we allow others to contribute their strengths, knowledge, and resources to our journey. In doing so, we also build stronger relationships because we create space for mutual support and trust. Here's a story that perfectly illustrates this. A friend of mine was working on launching his first business. He was juggling everything: product development, marketing, customer service, finances, because he believed that doing it all himself was the only way to succeed. After months of exhausting effort, he found himself on the verge of burnout. His business wasn't growing the way he had hoped, and he was losing his passion for it. It wasn't until he finally admitted to himself that he needed help that things began to turn around. He reached out to a mentor for advice, hired a team to handle the tasks he was struggling with, and learned to delegate. Not only did his business begin to thrive, but he also rediscovered his love for the work he was doing. His strength didn't come from pushing through alone. It came from recognizing that asking for help was the smartest and strongest thing he could do. So why is it so hard for many of us to embrace help? Often it comes down to pride, fear, or a belief that we should be able to handle everything on our own. But this is where Stoicism offers a powerful lesson. There is no shame in acknowledging that we are not all-knowing or all-powerful. In fact, it's in acknowledging our limitations that we open ourselves up to greater possibilities. Seneca, another prominent Stoic philosopher, once said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." We often imagine that asking for help will result in judgment or rejection, but in reality, most people are willing, if not eager, to offer support when we need it. The key is to shift our mindset from seeing help as a weakness to viewing it as an opportunity for growth. Let me ask you, when was the last time you asked for help? Did you hesitate, even though you knew deep down that reaching out would make things easier? And more importantly, how did it feel once you received the help? Asking for help doesn't diminish your capabilities, it enhances them. When you seek guidance from someone who's more experienced, you're leveraging their knowledge to advance your own goals. When you ask for assistance from a colleague or a friend, you're creating an opportunity for collaboration and teamwork, which often leads to better outcomes than if you had gone it alone. Stoicism also teaches us that we are part of a larger community, and as members of that community, we both give and receive help. Just as you might offer advice, resources, or emotional support to someone in need, there will come a time when you will need to rely on others. This reciprocal relationship is what makes us stronger together. No one expects you to know everything or to be perfect in every situation. Marcus Aurelius himself surrounded himself with advisors and sought counsel on matters he wasn't an expert in. He understood that being a leader, and a strong individual, meant embracing help when necessary. He didn't see it as a weakness, but rather as a tool to lead more effectively and make wiser decisions. In today's fast-paced world, asking for help can be especially challenging because of the pressure to be constantly productive and self-reliant. But let's break that cycle. Let's acknowledge that asking for help is not only a necessary part of life, but also a smart strategy for success. When you allow yourself to ask for help, you free up mental and emotional space to focus on what really matters. You also give others the chance to contribute to your journey, making them feel valued and appreciated. This act of vulnerability, of admitting that you can't do it all, is actually one of the most courageous things you can do. Lesson 9. Courage Boost. Facing Fear. We all face fear, whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of the unknown. Fear can grip us, making us feel small, stuck, and powerless. But fear isn't something to be avoided at all costs. It's something to be confronted, understood, and ultimately used as fuel for growth. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This statement holds immense truth. How often do we let the fear of what might happen paralyze us from taking action? We build up scenarios in our heads, catastrophizing and exaggerating the outcomes, when in reality, the situation is rarely as bad as we imagine. The Stoic mindset teaches us to acknowledge our fear but to not let it control us. Instead, we must face it head-on, building our courage in the process. Fear is a natural human emotion, one that has helped our ancestors survive dangerous situations. But in modern life, many of the fears we experience are not life-threatening. They're more psychological than physical, like fear of public speaking, fear of failure at work, or fear of stepping outside your comfort zone. The Stoics believed that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward in spite of it. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means that while we may not be able to control the external factors that trigger our fear, we always have control over how we respond. This is where true courage comes from. Not from being fearless, but from taking action despite our fears. Let me share a modern example to illustrate how you can build courage by facing your fears. A close friend of mine was offered the chance to lead a major project at work, something that could significantly boost his career. But with the opportunity came a surge of self-doubt and fear. What if he failed? What if he wasn't up to the task? These questions looped in his mind, holding him back from fully embracing the opportunity. He considered turning it down, retreating to the safety of his comfort zone. But instead, he decided to take a Stoic approach. He asked himself, "What's the worst that could happen?" He realized that even if he didn't succeed, the experience would offer invaluable lessons. By breaking the fear down and confronting it logically, he gained the courage to move forward. In the end, not only did he succeed in leading the project, but the experience also gave him a newfound confidence in his abilities. His fear didn't disappear, it was still there, but it no longer held him back. He had learned how to act in spite of it. So let me ask you, what fears are holding you back right now? Is it fear of pursuing a new career? Fear of having that difficult conversation with a loved one? Fear of failure? Often the anticipation of fear is far worse than the actual event itself. Stoicism teaches us to anticipate challenges, but to do so with a calm, rational mindset. We can prepare ourselves for adversity by acknowledging the potential difficulties without being overwhelmed by them. When you look at your fear from a Stoic perspective, it becomes something you can manage, something you can face and grow from, rather than something that paralyzes you. There's a powerful technique from the Stoic tradition called premeditatio malorum, or premeditation of evils. It's the practice of mentally preparing yourself for the worst-case scenario. By imagining the worst possible outcome and accepting that it could happen, you take away its power over you. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself of this practice, advising us to anticipate misfortune as a way of neutralizing its impact. Once you've mentally faced the worst, you find that the reality is usually far less daunting. The question then becomes, what is the worst that could happen, and how will I handle it if it does? By thinking this way, you gain control over your fear because you're no longer blindsided by the possibility of failure. You've already prepared yourself for it. Facing fear is not a one-time event. It's a practice that you must continue to cultivate, like any skill in life. Every time you confront a fear and take action despite it, you're building your courage. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And just like in a physical workout, the discomfort you feel when you're pushing through fear is temporary, but the benefits last far beyond that moment. This brings us back to the essence of the Stoic workout, building mental resilience and strength so that we can face life's challenges with grace and courage. In today's fast-paced world, fear often shows up in unexpected ways. Social anxiety, fear of failure in our careers, or even the fear of missing out, FOMO, can create constant stress in our lives. But remember, you have more control over your mind than you think. When fear arises, instead of avoiding it or suppressing it, try acknowledging it. Ask yourself, why am I afraid? And what's the worst that could happen? When you confront fear with logic and reason, you'll often find that it loses much of its power. You realize that many of the things you're afraid of are not as overwhelming as they initially seemed. Lesson 10. Stoic Prevention, Solving Problems Early. One of the key teachings of Stoicism is that the sooner you address a problem, the easier it is to resolve. It's much like how regular maintenance on a car prevents larger, more expensive issues down the road. The Stoics believed in facing difficulties early and head-on before they snowball into something overwhelming. As the great Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." This quote highlights the idea that challenges are inevitable, but how we deal with them determines our growth. By taking early action, we prevent problems from becoming bigger than they need to be, allowing us to stay in control of our circumstances rather than becoming a victim to them. Now, think about a time in your own life when you ignored a small issue, hoping it would resolve itself. Maybe it was a minor argument with a friend that turned into a larger conflict because you avoided addressing it, or a work project that had early signs of going off track, but you didn't intervene soon enough. These situations often spiral into more significant problems, causing stress and frustration. This is where the principle of Stoic prevention becomes so powerful. The Stoics understood that problems, much like weeds in a garden, are easier to manage when they're small. If you let them grow unchecked, they can take over, requiring much more effort to remove. The idea is simple. Identify and address issues as soon as they arise, rather than waiting for them to become full-blown crises. In today's fast-paced world, we often find ourselves juggling multiple responsibilities and challenges at once. It's easy to let small issues slip through the cracks, thinking we'll deal with them later. But the truth is, delaying action only compounds the problem. The Stoic approach to life encourages us to maintain vigilance over our personal and professional lives, constantly scanning for areas that may need attention. Marcus Aurelius, another famed Stoic, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This quote is a reminder that while we can't control everything that happens around us, we can always control our response. Part of that control comes from being proactive, anticipating challenges and taking action early, rather than waiting until it's too late. A modern example of Stoic prevention can be seen in the world of business. Take an entrepreneur who launches a new product. In the early stages, they notice some minor feedback from customers, small complaints or suggestions for improvement. A proactive entrepreneur, applying Stoic prevention, would address these concerns immediately, making adjustments before the product's reputation is damaged. However, if these minor issues are ignored, they can fester, leading to larger problems such as poor reviews, lost customers, and, ultimately, business failure. In this way, Stoic prevention isn't just about solving problems, it's about creating opportunities to improve and grow before those issues can take a toll on your success. The same principle applies to your personal life. Whether it's health concerns, relationships, or financial planning, the earlier you address potential problems, the more manageable they are. Ask yourself this: are there areas in your life where you've been putting off addressing a small issue, hoping it will resolve itself? It could be an unresolved tension at work, a lingering health concern, or even financial habits that aren't serving you well. The Stoic approach teaches us that by facing these issues head-on, no matter how uncomfortable or inconvenient it may be in the moment, you prevent them from growing into larger, more stressful problems in the future. By taking small, consistent steps to maintain order in your life, you'll avoid the emotional and mental toll that comes from letting things get out of hand. Another important aspect of Stoic prevention is the concept of self-discipline. It's not enough to simply wait for problems to appear. We must actively cultivate habits that prevent issues from arising in the first place. Think of it like building a strong foundation for a house. If you build your foundation carefully and check for cracks regularly, the house will remain sturdy over time. But if you ignore the foundation and only address issues once the walls start crumbling, you've already made the problem much harder to solve. Stoicism encourages us to take stock of our lives regularly, asking questions like, what areas of my life need attention? Where am I falling short in my discipline? By doing so, you're actively preventing future problems and setting yourself up for long-term success. The Stoics also understood that problem-solving early isn't just about avoiding difficulty, it's about growth. When we address problems early, we create space for personal development. Every challenge we face and solve adds to our mental toughness, our ability to navigate life's inevitable uncertainties with greater ease and confidence. Epictetus, another revered Stoic philosopher, said, "No man is free who is not a master of himself." This speaks directly to the idea that self-mastery, and by extension mastery over our challenges, comes from disciplined, consistent action. The earlier you take control of a situation, the more empowered you become, and the more freedom you have to focus on what truly matters. And there you have it, everyone. We've just walked through some powerful Stoic principles that can help you take control of your life, overcome challenges, and become mentally stronger. But remember, knowledge alone isn't enough. It's all about putting these lessons into practice. How can you start applying these principles today to enhance your personal growth and happiness? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts or stories. Let's continue the conversation and help each other grow stronger through Stoic wisdom. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need this in their life. Subscribe to Stoic in Your Life so you won't miss the next episode, where we'll dive deeper into the Stoic concept of duty and how it can help you lead a life of purpose and meaning. Until next time, stay strong, stay resilient, and keep embracing the power of Stoicism.